But it's about autonomy. Autonomy is applicable anywhere. It would be our responsibility to figure out how to apply it in the United States, in a Brooklyn, in a Harlem, in an Oakland. You know, that would be our responsibility. So it's like, I'm here, I'm going to learn as much as I can. We had a chance, I'm glad there was interpreters because my Spanish was very, very small. But it was such a great learning experience for me because it solidified so many things I have been questioning myself about. Can a struggle happen in a way that makes itself open to different ideas, that demands the respect of not only diversity, but everyone coming into this diversity? Here are people that even spoke different languages, indigenous people that spoke different languages, but created a space where they could work that stuff out and come to some common visions. It made me think about, I think it was 1970, the Revolutionary People's Constitutional Convention that the Panthers kind of initiated, which brought together so many of the different groups within the United States with the objective of writing a new constitution. The Zapatistas was like doing this, and diversity became not a negative thing, but it became this really positive thing, right? They said, walking, we ask, right? That blew my mind. It was almost like, you know, I don't even know how to say it like this. You know, you go into a Chinese restaurant, you get the fortune cookies, and you open them up, and it has this little saying. Sometimes it's very profound. And they were saying this stuff that is like very profound, but so fucking simple. We do not have a way of figuring out this revolution beforehand. Walking, we'll ask questions. We'll turn to each other for the first time with some humility and say, what do you know? What do you know? Let's put it on the table. Let's raise some questions. With the Zapatistas, the questions become more important than whatever your so-called factual stuff is. Create a world where many worlds can fit. I'm like, oh shit. The United States, how can we do it? You got indigenous nations right in the United States, right? You got black folks who identify with a concept called black nation. You got Chicanos who identify with Aztlan. You got workers who want dignified lives that really come down to meaning that they should be owning and controlling the means of their production or whatever they work in, and trying to figure out how to fit that into a whole new social scheme that can serve everybody, you know. You got queer folks who trying to create a world that's for them, with them, and involved with all other kind of worlds. And I'm like, damn. And it meant for me getting involved with this that I had to interact with a lot of new people, and every interaction was a new lesson. But that seemed to be the whole idea of the Zapatistas. Everything should be a new lesson. Everything should be a way to like see another piece of the puzzle, to clear out some of the confusion or the smoke around here and there, and try to create some kind of mechanisms where you can get another piece of your life back, where you can take control of another piece of your life. Because it's not only the Zapatistas, you got all other kind of struggles that's going on in the world. And even right here, of people trying different ways of doing different activities to take back their lives, to think differently. Coming up with new concepts. Like I'm one of them who like a lot of postmodernist stuff. But me trying to read that stuff, man, was like, oh. I would go get the dictionary, the standard Webster stuff, and none of the words would even exist in the dictionary, you know. So now the next thing I got to do is Google, because I love the fact that I love Googling. It's the only thing that probably keeps me on the computer. But now I'm understanding so many more concepts, like hegemony, territorialization, and deterritorialization. And at first I'm like, why the fuck do they got to use these big words when I'm sure there's some simple words to do it? But in trying and me pushing it, because that's the exciting thing for me. If I don't know, I got to do some digging. But a lot of the reasons why I'm trying to get this is because I also was trying to understand more of the Zapatista struggle and a lot of these other struggles going on around the world and what the radical academics were saying about them and then what we were saying about them on the grassroots. And some of the radical academics, the radical postmodernists, was trying to make that bridge between them and us to make that stuff more understandable. And that tends to be the stuff that I would drift towards. But it made me realize that the concepts that we used in the 60s and the 70s, stuff ain't work no more. The ways that we thought about raising consciousness, that stuff didn't work no more. Handing a flyer to somebody, you know, saying, come to this meeting, come to this rally, come to this talk, because you're talking to real human beings. And that was that thing, again, that brought me back to what the Zapatistas were saying about dignity. Us realizing that we're all human beings, and what does that mean? That means that human beings can think, they feel, they have dreams, they have desires, they have fears. Let's figure out ways to deal with this whole person now, and not just this political actor. So in these Zapatista communities, when we would go, you get to see in practice how people are living their autonomy. You get to see how they're living this new kind of small R revolution. It's regular folks from these communities who may sit on the junta. And when we first heard the word junta, you automatically assume that the junta is like the military dictators. But then somebody says, no, just deal with the definition of the word. You know, the junta that we're used to is what the United States has always supported, and we thought that that was the definition. But it's just an assembly of people. And you go in here and you sit before the Zapatista community, the junta in particular, and you're looking at the folks, and they're regular people. Except that they all have notebooks and pens, and they're taking copious notes of everything that we're saying, the whole conversation. And the reason they're doing that is because during this 2-week term, 2 or 3 week term that they're going to be on the junta, they want to make sure they understand what is being communicated. They're making sure that they jot down any decisions that's made so that when their term is over and the next crew comes on, they can look at the notes and see what went on before. And this was this thing they was calling is rotating leadership. And I'm like, man, that's all the stuff I would read in anarchism. They don't even call themselves anarchists, but they're doing this stuff in practice. They do not get caught up in the terms. I'm like, right on. Because their lives is in this position where they must figure out ways of making decisions, of sustaining themselves, of being a part, of participating. And the Zapatistas want everyone to participate, so people come on here who have never been in a leadership position before, and now here they are trying their hands. It's got to be not only scary for them in a way, but it's got to be a wonderful experience for them too, to see that it wasn't always the leadership thing that terrifying anyhow. Participation is really a doable, but the more people who participate and get this experience, the less likely it is that this particular struggle can be reversed. Because to get a feeling of what autonomy is like, what it means to have that power in your hands for communities, for yourselves, it's some really great stuff.